Fantasy Premier League football is back, people. Yes, come on. Welcome back to the channel. I am Jay London. This is FPL of the day, and I'm not going to lie, it's been a nice break. I have really enjoyed having the summer off and just chilling out for a few weeks or months even. But I'm so happy to be back now and bringing you guys content for the 2022-23 season. And in this video, it's essential viewing, people. We need to talk about this before we start picking players and looking at the game or doing anything. So if you are a new manager and you're just discovering FPL, then this is going to be the perfect video for you. If you're an old manager, if you're experienced and you're just getting ready to start the game, then this is going to be perfect for you. If you're halfway through the season and you need to remind yourselves about some of the things that we should not do, then this is going to be perfect for you. I'm talking about the 10 biggest mistakes that you can possibly make in Fantasy Premier League. Yeah, this is something that we all need to talk about throughout the whole season. So yeah, I'm not even doing it by myself. I've asked you guys to get involved on Twitter as well. So keep a lookout throughout the video. If you did get involved with that, I'm going to be popping up some tweets on the screen as well. Before we start, as always, brand new season, brand new branding, brand new header and all of that stuff on YouTube. If you're seeing my face for the first time, because I am still quite new, please do subscribe. I need it now. I need it more than ever because we're really pushing it this year. I'm going to be bringing you as much content as possible. We're going to be going in, and hopefully if you're just discovering this channel for the first time, you stick around to the end and you feel like, do you know what, that Jay guy, he's all right, you know. I think I'm going to watch this for the rest of the season. So let's just dive straight in. The 10 biggest mistakes. We are back, people. 10 biggest mistakes that you can make in Fantasy Premier League. Come on, let's start. Let's go. Oh, I'm so excited to be back. Right, so as I say, the 10 biggest mistakes that you can possibly make going into the season, going into FPL, and this will basically be your mantra, your guide, your 10 commandments. Thou shalt not do any of these things throughout all of the game weeks, and you can always refer back to this, or just send it on to your friends, or do whatever you need to it. Share the video and make sure that you are smashing this season, or keep it to yourself and just beat all your friends in your mini league. So let's begin. In at number 1, making transfers way too early. So I think we're all guilty of this. We watch a game, or we might even just see something that our friends are doing, or we're on FPL Twitter and we can see that loads of people are targeting one player, and then we transfer them in. And then what happens? We've still got like 5, 6, maybe even 7 days. Maybe it's a 2-week break. Maybe there's international games and we've transferred in a player, and then what happens? They might be injured, or maybe somebody else becomes available that might be better suited. So one of the most #1 mistakes that people do is bringing players too early. The best thing to do is wait until as late as possible. Maybe not too late because sometimes the site crashes, but maybe like 10 minutes before the deadline. Set an alarm on your phone if you're serious about it to make sure that you don't forget that deadline and you're not making transfers too early. That is vital. Do not do that. Keep your transfers close to your chest and only put them in just before the deadline when the time is right. Don't fall at that hurdle, people. Come on, this is an easy one. Let's get into number 2. I've seen people on social media, or some of my friends, that only bring in players from the team that they actually support. So they might be a Tottenham fan, for example, and they're only going to bring in or captain Harry Kane or Son because they are a Spurs fan, or they refuse to bring in Arsenal because they are a Spurs fan, or vice versa. You know, it happens both ways. This is something that just cannot go on. It can't happen in FPL. You really do need to separate your team loyalties from the FPL game. This is Fantasy Premier League, which means, yeah, we cannot be having any sort of loyalties or really strong bonds with players just because we support that club. I mean, look at this. I'm a Man United fan. I don't even think I'm starting with any Man United players because we're not that great. And it's as simple as that. We're not playing well at the moment. I want to win FPL. I want to smash my mini league, so they're not going to be going in. Of course, that could change, so make sure that you're keeping an eye on things throughout the season, but you cannot have loyalties in FPL. That is mistake number 2. Shall we look at number 3? Let's look at number 3. Taking way too many hits. Now, don't get me wrong, there are going to be times in the season that you need to take hits on your team. I've seen people do it and succeed, all right? Taking a -12, a -16, a minus whatever, all right? To make sure that you're building up your squad and you're redoing things and yada, yada, yada and all of that jazz. But very rarely is this going to be essential. So you really need to be making sure that you're treating every hit like you're reducing points from your team, because effectively that is what you're doing. And if you keep on doing that every week, it's common sense, right? Your team's not going to move up the ranks because you keep on reducing your points. So make sure that you're only replacing players that you need to replace, and don't get frustrated. For example, you might have someone like, I don't know, Raheem Sterling, yeah? And maybe he's in your team and he hasn't played that game. So you get really frustrated, even though the next fixture is really, really good. You take him out your team and then Pep plays him and then he goes and scores a hat-trick. This can happen all the time, all right? So make sure you're not taking hits just for the sake of taking hits. Just because your friends might be talking about this player or that player, or you're on social media and you see loads of people talking about this guy. Be very, very careful. Think about it carefully if you're talking about hits. Is it somebody that you're bringing in that is going to benefit your team for the next few games and not just for the next game week? It makes a lot of sense, but so many people make this mistake. Don't go loading your team up with -16s every week. In at number 4, blowing your chips way too early. So this is something that a lot of new FPL managers are guilty of. They start the game and then they see, oh look, I've got a free hit, a wild card, a triple captain, and then they just play them all in game week 1, 2 and 3. Experienced managers will always tell you that there are going to be vital times of the season that you need that free hit, that you need your wild card, and that you need to be using your triple captain. For example, most people use it on a double game week. Sometimes it could be a triple game week, so you want to be hanging on to that and making sure that you're pressing that button at the right time. Don't get me wrong, there are times where people might successfully pull off playing their triple captain early in the season, or playing their wild card in game week 2 or game week 3. I've seen it, I understand, but ideally this is not something that you want to be doing. It's a long season. It's a very, very long season. We're going all the way, so we want to make sure that we're hanging on to our chips for as long as possible, or just using them at the best times as possible. In at number 5, one of my favorites is chasing differentials. So yeah, of course we all want that player that nobody else has that racks up the points. And if you get that right, you're having a great time. You're really enjoying the game. And of course, it is down to how you want to play FPL. If that is your way that you like to play, then fair enough. But quite often, it is a very, very big trap. You don't want to be picking players just because they are a differential. Yes, it's nice to have 1 or 2. And as I said earlier on in the video, it's all about what fires you have to put out. So if you've got bigger fires to put out in your team, then of course you need to concentrate on those first, yeah? But there might be the odd week or two where you do want to bring in a differential and you actually want to have some fun, and you want to, or you really feel like this is a person who could really excel in that fixture or in the next 2 or 3 or 4 fixtures, then by all means bring them in. But don't just go bringing in the likes of Dean Henderson just for the sake of having a differential. That is not what you want to be doing. That is not how you're going to be racking up points, and is not something that you want to be concentrating on, all right? Have a look at some of the players that are in form, attack the fixtures, and make sure that that is the top of your list before attacking differential players. That would be my advice. If you disagree, of course, let me know down in the comments. But just don't chase them. Don't chase the differential. Knee-jerking. We see it all the time. There's one game week, somebody does well, he scores a hat-trick. It might be someone like Ivan Toney. The next game he's probably playing someone like Chelsea, City or Liverpool, and then we bring him in and then we get disappointed that he hasn't scored a hat-trick. Alright, cool. We need to be making sure that we're keeping an eye on the players that are in form and the players that are doing well. Make sure you're watching the games, you're seeing what people are doing and keeping up to date all the time. But don't bring in players just because they have had one good game week. All right, keep an eye on them and make sure if you're bringing in a player, it's someone that's going to benefit your team for more than one game week, and it isn't just because of the single game week that they've had before. Makes sense, but so many people make this mistake. In at number 7, and probably the thing that I am most guilty of, and this is the thing that I tweeted: overthinking and overplanning. I really got a lot better with this last season, but it's something that we are all guilty of, all right? You get a player in your head. You know that they're going to do well. you really feel like this person needs to come into your team, and then you start looking at Twitter or other people's teams or social media, and then you start to get a little bit twisted inside your mind, and then you overthink everything. Maybe I'm not making the right choice. Maybe if I bring in this person, it might bring me that cover, or maybe if I bring in someone like this, it might stop me from falling down the ranks. This is something, as I say, that we're all guilty of, and we really do need to stop doing. Play your own game. Do not overthink your decisions, because 9 times out of 10, the first thought that you've had is usually the correct one. Again, this isn't me telling you not to think, because, yeah, we also don't want to be underthinking. You don't want to be just bringing in a person, like I say, because they did well in the last game or because you've just seen somebody else do it. But there's a fine line in between. If you've got something in your gut that says that Kevin De Bruyne is going to be the person for this fixture, then bring in Kevin De Bruyne. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. That is a trap. Emotional decisions. Never make a transfer when you are emotional. And it happens to all of us. You watch a game, you've just seen a player miss about 5 chances. They are a great player. It could be somebody like Haaland. Their next fixture is against somebody in the bottom half. And then we just take them out. We rage transfer them out, which is not something that usually ends well. Make sure that you're making calculated decisions and you're only bringing in players, or removing players rather, when you're in a good state of mind. Don't be doing it while you're watching the game and decide that this person needs to come out, because likelihood is by the time it gets to the deadline, there might be another 2 or 3 players that are a bigger fire that you need to put out. So don't make those rage transfers. I know. Take a sit back, drink some water, and you'll be all good. In at number 9, confusing FPL with real life. Now, we touched on this a little bit earlier when we spoke about loyalties, but we need to remember that FPL is a game and it works with a point system. So there are going to be players in real life that are amazing. I always use Kante as an example, or a defensive midfielder of his caliber. Somebody who is always going to be smashing it, who's always playing well in real life, and we see how amazing they are, but it's not great for FPL. We want to be targeting players that are obviously going to be giving us points. People that get points from clean sheets, assists, scoring goals, that are on set pieces. Not players that play really well on the eye in real life that actually don't have much possibility of giving us any points in the FPL world. So I am an eye test man. You guys that are following the channel that know me know that I'm an eye test man. But we need to make sure that those eye tests that we're doing are for forwards, defenders, midfielders that are really going to be racking up those points. Not just a person that looks good in real life but can't actually transfer that into FPL points. And the last one, can't believe it, in at number 10 already. Hopefully you have been enjoying this video, and this one for me is something that is really going to determine your rank and your mini league position. Captain Gambles. Yeah, sounds like a superhero. Captain Gambles. Let's make sure that we're avoiding Captain Gambles. Basically what I mean is, you don't want to be picking a person just because you feel like, yeah, I fancy that as a punt this week. Of course, there are going to be times where you can do this and it can pay off. But 9 times out of 10, you want to be targeting the person that is on the best form in the best fixture. Don't play around with the captainship, because it can really make or break your season. If you can see that Salah, for example, is playing a team with a weak defense, it could even be Man United, he is on great form, then of course he is going to be a really boring captain pick. But we don't want to be messing about. You put the captaincy on Salah and you move along. All right. If you want to bring in another person who you think might be a nice little differential, then fair enough. Put them in and then maybe don't captain them. But let's not mess around with the captainship. Let's not captain players like, I don't know, Ziyech or Semedo or Maguire just because we feel like, yeah, this could be a nice differential to pick. No. Don't mess about with that. Make sure you're picking the person that you are most confident that is going to be scoring the most amount of points for that game week. You might want to base that on the fixture. You might want to base that on form. But don't be picking a differential captain just for the sake of messing about with the captainship. Avoid captain gamble. So there we go. There we have it. The 10 biggest mistakes that you need to avoid in Fantasy Premier League. Not just for this season, but for every season that you're playing Fantasy Premier League. And hopefully, if we stick to this and we use it as our mantra and we make sure that we're not making any of these 10 mistakes throughout the season, then we're going to be flying up the ranks, getting green arrows and smashing our mini leagues. So that's what it's all about, okay? Thank you so much if you got involved. Hopefully you saw your tweet on the screen. Please do come over and follow me at FPL of the day on Twitter. There's going to be so much chat and interaction. And as always, if you've made it to the end of this video, then that means it served you well. It served you good enough, right? So please do hit that subscribe button and leave a little like. I'm going in this year, people. It's great to be back. I hope that you stick with me for the remainder of the season. And as I say, if you're new to the channel, hit that button and I'll see you on the next one. All right. Good luck. We're going in with the content. Football is back. Yes, come on.